Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce our podcast guest, Pranav Sondhi, a dynamic professional who wears multiple hats in the realm of innovation and technology. Currently serving as the director at Infinity India, Pranav has been at the forefront of steering the organization towards success. Pranav is also the founder and CEO of Crescent Engineering and Consulting with with a rich background in product development, manufacturing engineering, design for manufacturing, engineering design, and mechanical engineering. Mr. Pranav brings a wealth of expertise to the table. His commitment to driving innovation and efficiency in the manufacturing sector is truly commendable, reflecting a passion for technological advancement and industry evolution. Throughout his career, Mr. Pranav has demonstrated a keen understanding of the intricacies of the manufacturing landscape, consistently working towards implementing cutting edge solutions that propel organizations in the digital age. As we delve into the episode, we have the unique opportunity to gain insights from a visionary leader who not only envisions the future but actively shapes it through his work. Hi Pranav, how are you?
Hi, Sagar. Pleased to be on the podcast. Really grateful for the platform and just eagerly waiting for the conversation to happen.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, like how is the new year shaping up for you? Like what is like both in terms of, your commitments towards the manufacturing sector in 2024.
Well, it's good and bad. I mean, as life goes, and we are doing something really fantastic, and we are also dealing with certain unknowns. Figuring it out and moving on is what I like to say. So, all in all, good. 15 days, 20 days in, and it's looking like a good year.
So what has shifted from pandemic, because we are looking forward to a lot happening, because I think the
Hmm.
momentum has built up.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
what trends, what observations, what do you think is happening in the manufacturing sector?
Uh, a fantastic question. So, post pandemic, what we've actually seen a lot is people are now more inclined towards digitization and optimization and looking at their own industry and introspecting their own companies. So this what has this done is given even us opportunity to show what we are capable of doing, not as a company but as a whole industry, as a whole concept and professionals. So people are really interested, or rather companies, especially the companies that never used to look at digitization optimization as a very big problem in their organization, have now again started exploring these options because pandemic everything shut down and the digital I'd say a digital revolution happened. So now this revolution also touched the people who were not very much inside the digital industry or digital. I'm using a crude term called digital industry, including everything that has been done over the internet. This is what they have now experienced. कि bhai, now what happens is everything was shut down. The internet was working. Everyone else was working. We were having, instead of physical meetings, we were having digital meetings and still going on about our day. Yeah, manufacturing. I mean, you can't keep a CNC machine in your home. So that was obviously a challenge. But then they also diverged into venues that typical small, as in 50, 60, 100 crore companies don't get into the software side of things. So software in India is not a, it's like an insurance industry. The top peoples make it mandatory to have systems, but the lower end of the spectrum, or even the lower end of the middle order of the spectrum, don't look at software as a very important thing to have. Now people are actually becoming more aware of the requirements that a company in a modern era has, and how much it is important to have remote cultures along with your uh, in person, in factory culture, both human machine, man machine, and resources, everything. So that is a big change that we are seeing. And a lot of other changes, small changes also happened, hiring cultures and other I'd say good and bad both. So that has happened. It's actually a big change. So the world will now be known as post and pre-pandemic, is what I believe.
Thank you, Pranav, for sharing that perspective. One of the themes of the podcast is to discuss the future of work. So before we go there, I would like to know more about, from two perspectives. One, from an Indian perspective, where do you see the future of manufacturing shaping up in India, and and a global perspective. Feel free to share that.
Yeah, manufacturing to I'll sum it up initially and then I'll explain. So
Sure.
manufacturing in India or in the world for that matter is like water and food. You can't live without it.
Hmm.
Anything that you see around you, even the mic that you're currently using to deliver that podcast, the wiring and the infrastructure that has gone into bringing this experience to the people, required a lot of equipment that had to be manufactured in a factory.
Hmm.
So, as consumption grows and as people evolve and discover new things and invent new things, and as we are going, everything from farming to our spacefaring vessels will require continuous innovation and continuous recalibration and recalculation of how we do things in every aspect of working, and manufacturing plays a big role in it. And this is what the future of manufacturing is. I mean, it is the past, present and future. You can't do anything without actually having the equipment to be able to do it. A surgery cannot be performed without the surgical equipments. You cannot file your IT returns without a computer. You cannot travel anywhere without as little as a bicycle to do it. And everything is manufactured. Everything, your dinner, you have your food on a plate using a spoon. That is manufactured in some factory. So
Nice,
this is
nice.
what it is.
Yeah, yeah. So, what are some of the sectors that you feel will benefit with this whole manufacturing, manufacturing revolution that is happening up in India, and post pandemic? One thing is for sure: none of the countries would want to be over dependent on any country, because they have understood
Correct.
when there is a problem, they should be able to have that capacity to manufacture. So, what are your thoughts, on this?
So right now, I'd say the top five industries that the government of India is focusing on is first is obviously the consumer electronics, the mobiles, laptops, TVs, all that. One big industry. Another humongous industry is actually that is in value maybe more than the consumer electronics is the defense sector. As the defense dependencies, as India now, we all know about the Atmanirbhar and Make in India plans, but defense is a big beneficiary for that. And not only the HALs and the BELs of India, they are actually doing a lot of outsourcing in terms of component manufacturing. That is one big sector. Another sector for manufacturing is, for example, this contract manufacturing. As we know that in the next 5 years, Apple wants 70% of iPhones to be assembled in India. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. See, the China plus one model that we call not having dependency on one country. In India, if you see, Asia is actually the champion of manufacturing, in which China takes a lion's share. Now there are other countries like Philippines and Vietnam that have that currently in many areas are a little ahead of India in terms of manufacturing because of our own lethargic behavior in the past. But now you see they don't have the landmass to support that scale of manufacturing. India does. And including that, the skill development, the skills that we need to support that large scale manufacturing with the cost and the scale, the supply chain, the overall management. India has the brain power to do it. And India has the now also is starting to have the infrastructure to do it. So there's going to be a huge increase in that, especially infrastructure. So India is one of the top three exporters of cement, top five steel, or rather, I think it's second in steel. And then you have pharmaceutical manufacturing. India is the top king in end pharmaceutical manufacturing. It turned up to be, I think, a few $1 billion in the last year itself. So these sectors are going to benefit humongously, and the future is only brighter. Now, right now, there are 5 or 6 industries that the government is focusing on, and that also helps the private players to focus on those. And then it's going to only expand, as small as shipbuilding, because shipbuilding, not small in the sense of the product that they make, but shipbuilding in India takes a lot of time. Vaccine
Mhm.
manufacturing, touching upon the COVID period, India became the 70% largest. We made 70% of the vaccines of the world,
Mm.
the affordable vaccines of the world.
Yeah.
So this is going to only grow, and it has to. I mean, it definitely has to. Uh, in the last decade, India had a manufacturing GDP contribution of less than a third. The IT was about a third of the GDP. Now
Mhm.
we are looking at that significantly growing,
Mhm.
significantly,
Mhm.
because it has to. You can't, since you can't be dependent on one country for all your work. One country cannot be dependent on just one aspect to grow as well. So we have to have IT, we have to have manufacturing, agriculture, uh, insurance and services. So it's going to grow. It's only going to grow. And it does not dependent on if BJP is in power or Congress is in power or whatever. As long as Tatas and Mahindras and Godrej and Reliance, as long as they want to drive business, as long as they want to earn money, manufacturing is only going to grow.
Nice. Pranav, what are the opportunities for uh, entrepreneurs, or someone who is wanting to grow or have their own, let's say, base or startups in this manufacturing game? So what is your suggestion for them on areas to look at, be it sectors, be it approach? Feel free to share your thoughts.
So it's a very loaded question and actually a very wide question. So the approach, okay, let's come down to what sectors they can do and what things can be done. Is first, I'd say, look at how China did it 50 years ago, because the growth that we have seen, it happened only when China opened up in the early 70s. So when you see that they started small and then they became big, the same are the opportunities available in India right now. And the opportunities of contract manufacturing, the opportunities of uh, IoTs, Industry 4.0, then there are opportunities as simple as supply chain management and product manufacturing, product supply. I mean, you can create $1 billion businesses just supplying nuts and bolts. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
is how nuts and bolts, it goes in everything.
Mm-hmm.
A company, a startup, just out of a mechanical engineer, for instance, just outside of college, just graduated, say this year, they can just start a business where they supply nuts and bolts to these companies, the large ones,
Mm-hmm.
the tier two, tier three suppliers. Don't shy off and don't chase the stars. Start
Mm-hmm.
from small. Tier 4, tier 5 suppliers at times can give you
Mm-hmm.
as much business as the Tatas in the Godrej of the world. So
Mm-hmm.
that is a
Mm-hmm.
big opportunity. Don't think about going fancy.
Yeah.
Think about the
Yeah.
basics. What is
Yeah.
required and how you can develop a business. A
Yeah.
bad culture, I would say, in India is to valuation. I want to become a unicorn, and that those things will happen. But look at what is it. And also we stress too much on what is the problem I'm solving. Sometimes you're just not solving a problem, you're just giving a better solution to a solution that a company already has. Or sometimes you just make them aware ke, this is also something you can do. Now, just because now the world standard in hardware is SKF. Now, world standard is SKF, but it is not only SKF dependency that you can have. You can create hardwares uh, at any scale, any rate. Another big opportunity I'd say is you can look at software solutions or creating small software solutions. For example, something as simple as a tally is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Tally is not a very good software. CAs would love it, everyone else hates it because it's a very rigid system. It is rigid because accounting is rigid. It's driven by law. It's not a creative field. It's driven by rules and regulations. So it has to be rigid. Now, how can you make the data that goes in Tally more user accessible? A founder may not be from an accounting background. He may be from maybe an engineering background, but he still needs to understand what is the data going in and coming out of Tally for me. When am I going to get payments? There are very small companies that have made so small softwares as just a payment reminder software, and they are valued in millions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't shoot for the stars. I'd say look at the basic problems, burning issues, and solve those. Don't
Mm-hmm.
go and ask what is your problem. Just go and ask what can I do for you, and you can create a business around it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting perspective, Pranav. I think this is a good time for you to share about what's happening at Crescent Engineering and what solutions, what better solutions you're offering for your clients.
So we are doing some fantastic stuff. Crescent Engineering, originally we started in 2015. We started by looking at 3D printers and automation design, digital automation solutions. So we started very small. We took 3D printers and we did a lot of work in them. We don't do 3D printers anymore because there are a lot of better players, I'd say, already in the market. So we decided to focus on automation. We did some fantastic work in automation where we reduced design times from for companies by like about 90% at times. And then fast forwarding 8 years, now we have a complete automation solution. We have done not only design automation but sales automation, production flow automation, production planning automation, dispatch planning, then installation and commissioning planning. The complete thing is automated. Sometimes data from a site directly needs to go to a remote place. So we have inbuilt softwares where we have inbuilt as simple as a simple mobile app where data can be gathered and pushed, where a site engineer will always see. You can't expect everyone to speak a single language. And language, say, I don't mean Hindi, English. It's simple. A site engineer will have his own language to communicate information, whereas a design engineer or production manager or even a service team sitting, say, 3 cities across would have a different language where by which they communicate. So we have created systems that takes information from one person in their own language and communicates to the other person in their language. So it's
Mm-hmm.
basically a translator of sorts for engineers.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've implemented that. Then we've also just developed, and that is where Infinity comes in. We have developed a complete automated business management system
Mm-hmm.
where every department, right now we are considering about 4 to 5 departments, which is sales CRM system that we have, then inventory management we have, uh, operations management we have, where we have design, manufacturing, dispatch, installation, that side. Then we have billing and invoicing. We don't have accounts, but we have billing and invoicing. This is a whole different story. And then we have purchase management, and this is something that, if completely deployed, it automates about 60 to 70% of your reporting and scrounging for data work. And
Mm-hmm.
at best, we have actually achieved, with a marquee client that we have achieved about 92% automation. And we have some metrics to measure that. Yeah, how much automation
Wow.
have you achieved?
So, Pranav, what is the one project that you're
Hmm.
really proud of? I know there would be many, but one project that you have really been proud of.
I'm really proud of this automation system we've created. I mean, we started developing this about a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone we spoke to, obviously, we had to do some research on what is what, and how do we do it. Many thought this was a pipe dream and cannot be achieved in some way or the other. And everyone said, if you do it, it's going to be remarkable. And at that time, I thought, oh, yeah, remarkable. I mean, it's kind of what I've been doing a lot along. But the whole journey of this time where we have developed this, honestly, I can say I have learned a lot. I have learned a lot. My team has learned a lot. Everyone associated with us has learned a lot. I mean, uh, we have actually broken some myths about what a production system should be.
Mm-hmm.
We have tried to go a very different route than the most popular systems out there. I don't want to name them right now, but many popular SaaS based systems that people take for granted. We have gone a very separate way. It was a huge risk. I mean, it was like sometimes I used to believe, what what am I doing? But now that we have implemented in one or two places, and we are seeing the results, and we're seeing the reactions of the directors of these factories that we are talking to, I'm really proud of what we've done. We've tried to actually, put our money where our mouths are.
Mm-hmm.
And we've still got a long way to go. It's like we are still on the journey of going from 0 to 1, and then there
Mm-hmm.
is 1 to 10, and then 10 to 100. But I'm really proud of what we've achieved.
Wonderful, wonderful, Pranav. I just wanted to understand, we discussed about future of manufacturing, and now I would love to know more about what were the first few things that come to your mind when I say future of work itself. So what are the few things that come to your mind?
The first thing that comes to my mind, future of work. I think work is something you should do what you like. But I'm never at work because I love what I do. That kind of thing. There is an approach in the world where, especially in India, you do things for money sometimes. I mean, everything is done for money, but money becomes a big part of what you're doing. If you're doing something for money, you're probably not enjoying that. You're not enjoying doing things, and then you find happiness other places. There's always a calling someone has. Follow that calling. It could be stand-up comedy for all.
How to
Uh,
identify that calling?
I attended a
Like it could
stand-up.
be your process. I mean, I would love to know your process of identify the
Okay,
calling.
my process. I'd say I'm the lucky ones who knew what he wants to do in eighth standard. So
Okay.
I'd say that. But I'll talk about a friend of mine. You also know him, but Mr. Pratik Viplani. So what he did was he did his computer science engineering, final year of engineering. What he said, that, yeah, I can't do a job in an IT firm. I mean, though he's in an IT firm right now, but he's doing what he likes. So then he took a year, prepared for an MBA. He did finance, and he loves finance, and he loves playing with those spreadsheets and identifying those things. And now he loves what he does. Another one of my friends, I like, we haven't spoken for a good part of a decade, but Mr. Shazib Yamin, he was my college friend, uh, college roommate also sometimes. And this guy is actually following his dream. He did his mechanical engineering final year. He said that I don't want to do engineering the rest of my life. Now he's in he's doing social work. He did his masters in Azim Premji University in social work, and he is now going to the remotest parts of the country and educating children. I mean, he loves doing that. That's his calling, and I mean, courage. Hats off to that guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that is
So,
the
so what?
process. Hmm.
So what advice would you give to leaders, or or whoever is associated with you, on if they're stuck in identifying their calling? What are the first few steps they can take to identify that?
First, remove a block in your mind that, for instance, if you have done engineering, that means you cannot make a career in anything else. I did mechanical engineering. To start Crescent Engineering, I learned how to develop softwares. I'm not a software developer, but you have to know the ABCD of things. So forget about what your graduation is. Forget about what, see, a graduation in any subject is more towards opening your mind up and looking at the world differently. If you find joy in social work, do that. But do that. Don't say, okay, yeah, 9 to 5, I'll work, and then risk some part of your time, money, and livelihood at a very early stage, because at 35, when you're married with kids, you can't take risk at that point, and no one can. Okay, so when you are 22, 23, 25, just out of college, that is the most beautiful part where you can actually risk things.
Mhm.
Other part is like my personal story. I lost my father in final year of engineering, and then ghar ka bada beta in India, uh, responsibilities. We did face some financial issues, but I'd say we were still a middle class family, so we coped because my father did a lot of financial planning for us while he was there with us. So I did join a company doing what I liked. That was something that I loved. I mean, I always wanted to get into a consulting role and not into a very static role where, in a production or a design in an OEM. So that was my calling. But I also explored, this is a secret, no one knows that. Let's come out here. I explored becoming an automotive journalist.
Wow.
And I gave an interview in one of the prominent magazines in India. Uh, And the interviewer actually told me that, my friend, you may enjoy it, but you'll get bored of it because that is not where you lie. Your
Hmm.
head is where you go into something and redesign the whole thing. So he was
Hmm.
consequently he was a mechanical engineer also who was in journalism for last 20 years. So he told me, so what you do, you enjoy and you like. You're doing this because this is fantasy. Don't get dragged into the fantasy. Identify and see, you like what you do, so give it 2 years.
Hmm.
If you get bored in 2 years, then
Hmm.
relook.
Pranav, what do you think? I mean, what is your take on future of leadership?
It has to change.
Mm-hmm.
It has
Mm-hmm.
to change. People, leadership and leading are two different things, in my opinion. Leadership is more of what style you want to follow, and leading is, yes, telling, laying down process, and that's how you lead. That's the difference between an architect and a civil engineer. So leadership is the idea of the whole thing, and leading is the execution of that idea. Now, what I believe is, fear style of leadership, which is very prominent in the large companies, should not be there. I mean, there is always a person who's not afraid. So fear should be there, say 10-15%. But the leadership role should be to create future leaders. You don't create followers. A good leader creates leaders. You replicate yourself in a different flavor. That's what I really believe. Even in my team, I it is very difficult for a leader to detach. Will this guy be able to do it the way I do it? Will this guy will be able to handle the customer because he's a very important customer? And then you start micromanaging unknowingly, even if you don't want to do it. Trust the team. You've hired that person. You've interviewed that person. This person is working for you for 6 months, for a year. Trust him. He will not be able to do it the way you do it. But will he get the job done in his own way and in the right way, in a good way? Trust him to do that. Let the person have his or her own flavor to it. Everyone brings in a unique perspective and a unique approach. Embrace it, don't suppress it. And then put
Mhm.
the right people in the right places. I mean, you can't put a Virat Kohli on number 8 so that if all wickets fall, he'll save us. No, that won't work. So
Mhm.
he won't be able to perform. So it's not Virat Kohli's fault, it's the captain's fault,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And the World Cup 2011, when we won, Dhoni came in at number 4. Generally, he comes at number 5 or number 6. That's leadership. You should know when to give the rein and when to take the rein.
Mhm. Mhm. Uh, uh, Pranav, what advice would you like to give to your younger self if you look back 10 years? What would you want to change?
Uh, what would I want to change? Very good question. Pay a little more attention in college. Get a little more, get a little more scores.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was a
attention
very
attention happens to be one of the most, I was reading few books.
hmm,
Interestingly, I like the work of Dan Coy. He's written
yeah,
this book called as Art of Focus. So I've realized it. We say time is the biggest resource, and slowly I understood it is the attention. Attention is the
yeah,
biggest currency. People even say trust is an inexpensive currency, but even more than that, attention is. This is what I have discovered in the last few
yeah.
months. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, Pranav. By the way, have I missed out on anything? Would you like to address uh, any misconception in the manufacturing domain? I think we didn't touch upon that. Misconceptions
Uh,
people have.
yeah. See, there are a lot of misconceptions that people have because manufacturing. If you do something in the information technology space, or in a very broad sense, I'm taking the information technology space
Sure,
as a whole.
sure.
It's very evident, it's very visual, in front of you, it's out there, so you see that a lot. So those
Yep.
are the actors in a movie, you see that. But what about the director, the art director, the spot boys, and the people who are involved in creating the whole thing? So manufacturing people are like those guys. So first myth about manufacturing is, just because something has been done in a certain way for the last 50 years does not mean that you can't add a new dimension to it. Like, even if there is a way to manufacture a certain component like cars, the way to manufacture is not changed, and it will never change because physics doesn't change. But how we are doing it and at the scale at where we are doing it, there's a lot of technology involved, and technology is not only a software or tech. Technology is also the understanding of how a certain physical operation can be done better, or how much attention you need to give to a particular problem. Another myth is, people think that we need to solve all problems first or together. Don't do that. Like, if your house is on fire, you don't go and shut off the electricity first. You first look at where the problem is. If your drapes are on fire, you first do that, then shut off the electricity so that the fire cannot increase. Then there's steps involved. So don't try to take leaps where leaps are not required. First, understand. Another thing is, yeah, big myth about manufacturing is it's a hustle. No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. Yeah, you'll have to sometimes be in sweaty factories for a while, but that doesn't. It's not a standard. Even in modern world, in today's world, that's not actually how things work. We have
Mm-hmm.
gone beyond those sweaty shop floors, and we've come to a very modern approach of working. Another thing is automation kills employment. No, it doesn't. Actually increases employment,
Yeah.
right? Because every
Because
system in
nowadays
place would be,
people are talking a lot about how artificial intelligence is going to take away the employment. First, of course,
it's
please.
not going to.
Yeah,
It cannot.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And when this was happening, now I actually took about a 2 hour session of my own team at Crescent Engineering and Infinity, and actually told them, no, this is not going to happen, and not because of you or me, because artificial intelligence in itself cannot take away employment. You know what takes away employment? If you don't upgrade yourself with time. You have to upgrade yourself with time. That is how employment stays with you. For example, a machine operator. Now, artificial intelligence is a very big thing we're talking about. I'm talking about as small as a machine operator. A machine operator who used to, like 25 years ago, used to punch in codes by hand to do a certain CNC operation. Today, softwares are there where you import the design and directly the codes are generated and you just have to plug it in the machine and do it. But who's operating that software? There is a human being that is operating that software, right? So you have to
Yeah.
upgrade with time, you have to upgrade with technology, and that is the only way you ensure that. Now, that is human dependent. Employment or no employment based on upgrade is human dependent. If you're not willing to upgrade, you lose your job, and then the company will hire someone who's willing to upgrade themselves and do the new job.
Mm-hmm. Also, what are some of the myths with respect to early career professionals who are wanting to build themselves in the manufacturing domain?
Uh, a big myth, because see, I have a policy of hiring only freshers. So I only hire freshers and then I train them towards my specifications. This is obviously a slower process, but it's a more robust process. So, what I have experienced in, say, today's youth is that, I mean, I'm not saying I'm old, but yeah. Uh, what I've experienced is that if you're doing mechanical engineering, they think there are no job prospects and there are no opportunities and there's nothing out there for me. So I'll go and interview for an Infosys or a TCS, and these companies hire engineers because they train them, retrain them for 6 months or a year before they deploy them anywhere. So that works. But it's not the case. If you talk to a Tata Technologies, if you talk to an L&T Technology Services or a Tata Motors or a Jindal, they can't find people. They just can't find people. They cannot find skilled professionals, 1 year, 2 years experience, or freshers. They just can't find them. Another myth is that the top colleges, and I say that with absolutely no disrespect, the myth with large companies like Tata Motors and all that is that the only way we find skill is if we hire from IITs and NITs and BITS and these top colleges. That is also not the case. I make it a point to hire from second tier colleges. Why? Because first, these guys just want an opportunity to prove themselves. They have the talent, they know how to do it. Maybe they got a little less score in their competitive exams. So if you're only fighting for those 25, 30 people, 30,000 people who have cracked the JEE effectively and got into those top colleges, what about the remaining 10 lakh people also gave exams? Na? I'm saying, okay, the remaining 5 lakh may not be as skilled as you'd like, but it's not that these 30, 35, 40,000 people are running the world. Like
Mhm. Mhm.
the physics that you study, the engineering that you study, the even let's say other subjects who are doing BBAs and BCAs and all these people, they are also studying, they are also giving the same exam, studying basically the same thing any other college has, because there is one path to doing engineering or BBA or MBA or whatever, and everyone studies that. Now if someone is dedicated enough, irrespective of the college they are from, they will be good at their jobs.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
Crescent Engineering is living proof of that. We have
Mhm.
taken engineers from colleges that are mostly ignored by companies.
Mhm.
And I'd say, I go back, I have a blank check to give them, I'll do this all over again,
Mhm.
because they put their heart and soul into it. And that is how you create a product. And I am proud of my team. I am
Mhm.
proud of the
Mhm.
work they are doing. I am
Wow.
proud of the professionals they are going to become in the future. And I know that.
Yeah.
Crescent Engineer is going to be a CEO factory. I'm telling you this.
I think Pranav, you must start documenting your approach that you have taken, like the and with the evidence that you have, that will be beneficial to other, other peers in your network. Be it because I think you're building from, let's say, 0 to 1 and 1 to 10. So I think
Hmm.
this approach can be of value to them. So maybe someone from your team can take up this responsibility. Just a
Definitely.
passing thought, sort of sharing with you. That's
No,
how,
definitely.
let's say, we are shaping up the future even through this interaction, right? So I just felt, okay,
Absolutely.
maybe this
Absolutely.
this can be of value to them. I think sometimes even I believe that, yes, I have amazing books which I read, but at the same time I feel that whatever, let's say, we we take decisions from our guts and from our experiences, and let's say from 0 to 1 approach. So if something new comes up, it has to be shared. So that is where, and I've been following your organization for a while now, so I know, your team and how they support each other. Just a quick question here: is working remotely, or working from a different geography, let's say, location independence, is possible in manufacturing domain? I mean, I understand that there are a few sectors wherein you will have to be on ground to execute thing, but I just want to know overall. I just want to get your sense there.
I'd say yes and no. So we have tried this in the past. I'd say
And
yes and
also,
no
Pranav, just a
because
follow quick question. Also
sure.
share which sectors you feel it is possible, when which can be explored. Yeah.
No, what my answer was going to be was sector independent. So
Okay.
I believe to create a strong team, the pillars of your skyscraper, you need the columns to be absolutely indestructible. That may take a longer time, but when you're doing remote activities with freshers, especially people who are less than 4 or 5 years experience, who've not probably experienced as wide a problem set as maybe you have, or someone more experienced would have, you cannot teach that remotely. And people, while going remote, ignore a very important part of working together: the camaraderie that employees share together, the friendship while working is actually, I'd put that on the top of something that a human resource culture in a company should be.
Mm-hmm.
If you're working for 8 hours, the work is done in 5 or 6 hours. Everyone knows that. But
Mm-hmm.
just having lunch with your friends that you work with, not colleagues, and just, out in every hour, if you spend like 5 minutes chatting about whatever, maybe the India Pakistan match that is going on, that gives you the stamina to go for another hour. and it becomes so strong that I have because right now we've just moved to a work from home model because we are shifting our base of operations, going to a better place, doing some interior work and all. So that is going on. So every second day, about half of my team asks me, "Sir, office कब शुरू होगा? घर पे मजा नहीं आ रहा है."
Mhm, mhm,
So that becomes a culture, and Saturday is working for us, but it's a work from home. I mean, I don't care where you work from, so take the day. I mean, obviously for yourself, work is going on,
mhm,
and still they work. They come to the office on Saturdays.
mhm,
They come to the office on Sundays. They come to the office if they're getting bored. I mean,
mhm,
I don't like my team sitting in the office for after 7:30 because they come at like 9:30, 10 in the morning. Yeah, brain gets exhausted. So I'd rather you work on 100% efficiency rather than 70%. So I
mhm,
want like खत्म करो जाओ यार क्या कर रहे हो इधर बैठे बैठे.
mhm,
So that's a culture. And once you're experienced, once you know things, and then you're a little at a certain stage in your career, at a certain experience level, then a work from home approach allows you to have a good balance of teaching your team how to do things and doing your own work. So even I sometimes don't go to the office when I am too loaded, because I know when I'm going to the office I'm going to be 110% there for my team and invested in them. So when I have certain tasks that I have to do, I know there are certain tasks that I've allocated that this needs to happen today, tomorrow.
mhm,
So
mhm,
sometimes I stay at home and get those done. So it
mhm,
has to be done that way. But initially, training becomes very difficult when you are not in the atmosphere that will nurture you. So it's like
mhm,
homeschooling.
mhm,
You can read the
mhm,
same books at home, but why then do you send someone to school? Right?
mhm,
They will never
mhm,
gain that interpersonal relationship. They will never become a productive part of social life in society
mhm, mhm.
if you don't do that.
Interesting.
And it doesn't go away when you work.
Interesting perspective. Pranav, what is your take on workplace well-being? Because when I hear stories, when I read newspapers, and this is irrespective of be it a remote first company or a normal company, we hear a lot on employees being stressed at work, for work itself, or for that matter. I've also got an insight that it has to more to do with what's happening on their personal life or personal side of things. That also plays an impact. So what is your take on that, and what 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 do you think one must be mindful of?
You should be mindful of exactly what you said, because see, five fingers in our hand, everyone is different.
Mhm,
So every person has their own challenges, and you need to be empathetic to it, because see, at the end of the day you're working so that you can create a career, you can create a career, a career. You're creating a career so that you can go and do good things in your personal life. So someone who's willing to work, make the world better in his own way, in his or her own way, it cannot happen if you are struggling at home. So you need to be very mindful of that. So I'll there's no, so this is more of an art than a science, but I'll tell you
mhm.
what we did.
Yeah.
We have a policy of 18 leaves in a year like any other company does, but I don't count leaves. If someone wants to work from home today, fine with me. If someone wants an off today for whatever reason, fine with me. I'm not going to dock your salary for 1 2 days, even for a week if you want to. I don't care. Someone comes to me and says, "Sir, I'm like thoda zyada ho gaya this week. I'm going to go to a beach and go and work for all I care. Go fix yourself first, then come."
Mhm,
See,
mhm,
stress happens. It will happen. And it happens in our organization also. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
I've had my head of production, sorry, head of engineering. He's worked 20 days straight in the month of August. 15th August, Saturday, Sunday, no leave. He
Mm-hmm.
was going to client and coming back at 3 a.m. And then he had to do some work and deliver to another client at 11 a.m. We
Mm-hmm.
forced him to take 3 days off. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
dude, okay, there was a crunch. You helped. You got through it. You got the company through it. Now fix yourself. Do
Mm-hmm.
it and then come back 100%.
Mm-hmm.
It is very
Mm-hmm.
important. I mean, we have had developers, uh, I don't know if I would want to name one or two. I don't know if I should, but I'll just go ahead and do that. The guy I was talking about was Siddhant, my head of engineering. And then I'm blessed with such nice team, such a fantastic team. Our developer Khushi joined us last year. She actually completed 1 year with us on 1st of January. Uh, she had 102 fever, and she opened a laptop and started working. And we were like, why? Why in God's name are you doing that? Fix yourself first. And her comment was, "No, sir, I'm okay. I've had medicine, but this needs to be done today." I mean,
Yeah,
that is a
yeah. So this
dedication.
shows, Pranav, that this shows two things. One is how you have created a safe atmosphere for your team members to to be so committed. And of course, the second part, as I mentioned in the first point itself, that the way you have nurtured, I think that has made them more committed. So good that you're also taking care. I think, thank you, Pranav, for sharing that. But again, as a disclaimer, no one is encouraged to work in 102 fever. So just wanted to make it
No, no,
clear.
no one is. I don't want
Yeah.
you to work in
Yeah,
102 fever.
yeah,
Please don't.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Wonderful, Pranav. We got a great
hmm,
insight on what Crescent Engineer is doing, your
hmm.
perspective on future of work, leadership, and for that matter, yeah, industry in the manufacturing sector. Before we end this conversation, uh, please share with the audience if they would like to connect with you. What is the best way to connect with you? And secondly, if you feel you have missed out on anything, feel free to share their thoughts.
Definitely. I mean, I'm always open to connecting with people who would like to learn more about the industry, and it's extremely underrated place to work in hard engineering. And you can reach out to me on my email ID. I don't know how I can post
Yeah,
that
you
or
can later
something.
you can put it on the comment section. Yeah.
We'll put it on the comment section. You can get in touch with me on my email ID. And one thing is that I would like to share is, yeah, don't really work just for the money,
Mm-hmm.
and that should
Mm-hmm.
not be your style. Money will follow you. You have the brawls, you will become rich. That is not a problem, but nothing happens overnight. And my father used to say this, बहुत पॉपुलर कहावत है, वक्त से पहले और जरूरत से ज्यादा किसी को कुछ नहीं मिलता. So
Mm-hmm.
there has to be a degree of patience. That is funny coming from my side, because people often say I'm very impatient. But
Mm-hmm.
be patient about things. Be Give the work justice.
Yeah.
Give the work the justice it deserves, and
Mm-hmm.
be honest. If you are not doing or performing in a certain role, that simply means you might not enjoy it. Identify what your calling is, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
find your calling. It's not rocket science. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even rocket science for rocket scientists is not rocket science. So find your calling, and trust me, when people say if you love what you do, you won't work a day in a world, I'm saying last 14 years, I haven't worked a day in my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I say that I haven't worked a day in my life because I love what I do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a wonderful way to close this conversation. Thank you, Pranav, once again for uh, joining me in Virtual Global Leadership Podcast. It was wonderful
It was a
interacting
pleasure.
with you. We touched upon almost all the topics. Plus, what I loved about this conversation is that sometimes people like to listen what they want to hear, but the way you expressed, you are open about your journey. Everything came from your experience, which is more important. And and it's up to the audience for to absorb what is valuable for them in this conversation. So thank you for doing that. Yeah, bye.
Most
Have a
welcome.
wonderful day, and
Pleasure.
thank you, viewers, for joining us. Looking forward to another amazing episodes of Virtual Global Leadership Podcast.